right, everybody. We got another very special guest for you this week. And a special guest that has a book that came out a year ago, 2 years ago, that I can't stop talking about, called The Recount. Everybody, welcome to the show, Jonathan Hedrick. Welcome, Jonathan.
Hey, thanks, guys, for having me on.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we want to talk about Recount. We also got some other stuff to talk about. But, you know, it's your first time on the show. Probably won't be your last, because someone like you, we got to have coming back that's always doing stuff. But give us your quick origin story of how'd you get into writing comics? I know you talked a little bit about how you wrote a book before this, I think. So what got you into the comic and Recount?
So, yeah, I've always had the writer gene in me. I was a nerdy kid that liked to stay inside and read. And I would just transcribe the dictionary when I was bored. I was just that.
That's pretty nerdy. That's pretty nerdy.
That was. I mean, I'm talking
like another level,
right? I was that nerdy of a kid. I was nerdy before it was cool. Hipster nerd now.
Nice.
But I was always a fan of comic books. I was the kind of kid that was picking them up off the spinner rack at the grocery store and just would. Way before I even realized that they were ever expensive collector's items, because there was no one in my town that read comic books or let alone collected them. I rolled them up, put them in my back pocket, went to school with them, and read them backward, forward multiple times. Mm-hmm. And there was, in the early days, it was the Ninja Turtle adaptations of the show, and lots of movie adaptation comic books, things like that.
Yep.
And it just slowly graduated into other things, more mature things. I grew up in the 90s, so the X-Men animated series was pushing, helped me get more into comic books. Spider-Man animated series, Batman animated series. I mean, we had it all.
Yep. It was the best time.
Yeah, it was. And all that stuff just helped me dive deeper into comic books. So, I grew up with them, and throughout school, I was always told I was good at writing and I should, see where that could go. But, when you're in high school and you just want to be a rock star or an athlete or something, I couldn't imagine I would read Wizard magazine, and they would talk about these guys that were being superstars in comic books, like Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane. And I didn't think I could ever. I just assumed you had to be an artist. You had to be really, and I could not draw for the life of me. So I never even pursued it and went about my merry way in life until a few years ago. I saw this interview with Doug Wagner. He wrote Plastic and The Ride, Yumi. Great guy. And it was actually a live YouTube interview, and I was able to ask him a question. And I said, how do you, what would you suggest for someone to get into comic books as far as a writer? And he said, just make your own comic book. With technology nowadays, you can make your own comic book. You can write your own script, email it to an artist on the other side of the world, and never even meet them. Get the files, send it to a printer, and now you have your own comic book. So after realizing that being a superstar artist wasn't holding me back, I took some short stories I tinkered around with just for fun. I wasn't planning to show anyone, and kind of transferred them into the comic book script after reading a few books on how to write comic books, and did my research, and I finally had a script. It was a 24-page script. It was called Freak Show Princess. And I was like, what do I do with it?
Yeah, right.
So I reached out to a local comic book creator, Travis Gibb, who I think you guys know.
Yep.
And
pretty well.
Yes.
Yeah.
He lives in the same town as me. And I was like, hey, man, know you work, do comic books. I got a script. What do I do next? And he led me to this Facebook group where people, artists are putting themselves out there, showing their portfolios. One thing led to another. I hired an artist, and he kind of helped guide me through the process of getting a colorist, and then we got a letterer. A few months later, I had this comic book in my hand. I was like, wow,
awesome.
Okay, I know the formula. I may not have the talent, but I know the formula.
Right.
And then I was hooked. I was like, okay, I can actually if I have the funds, I can see this thing from script to hand. So, then I had a ton of ideas, and I started running through it. All of them, as many as I could.
Yeah, I mean, as much as some people like to knock the digital, digital books as opposed to real books, or like Kickstarter and stuff, with some of the issues they've had with that, but I think it really has gotten people to a point of like, the only thing holding me back here is I just need to put my script out there and get it funded, and then I can find everybody else online, in these communities and stuff. Yeah. I think it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's totally possible. Nothing's stopping you except for maybe the funding.
Right.
Right. And there's ways around that too.
Yep.
Yeah, and we're finally starting to see this crop, the crop that you're a part of, Jonathan, that is making its way to mainstream comics too.
Yes.
With Propose jumping over to Marvel, I thought that was one of the biggest things for the Kickstarter community in a long time.
Yeah, I was super stoked to see Dave get that. I mean, I had a feeling for a while that he was got that gig. You could read between the lines in his newsletter, and he's talented enough. He was like one of the first indie creators that was like larger, because he already had Spencer and Locke out at that time, and I was like, wow, this guy's actually like producing published books and talking to me online. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, it's pretty awesome.
It gives us hope. Sometimes I compare indie comic books to playing AAA ball, and you just keep on putting yourself out there and you work hard. Maybe you get called up to the big leagues if that's what you want.
Right. If that's what you want.
If that's what you want. Yeah.
Yep.
So what was the first thing that you made that got picked up by somebody with like Scout, for instance?
It was Recount, actually. Yeah, my third comic book that I produced was the Recount. I did Freak Show Princess, which is a one-shot zombie book. Then I did issue 1 of Capable. And then Recount was in production, and I showed it to Scout, and they're like, yeah, we want this. I was like, wait, what? All right. And that was the first time I pitched to a publisher. And yeah, it was full throttle from there. Lots of hard work. I thought I went into it thinking I was going to kickstart it like everything else, but things were, it was all about the timing as well. I pitched it to them in around December 2019, and then COVID happened a few months later, and Diamond shut down, and there's this huge need. A call out from the comic book shops, brick and mortars, like, if you have an indie comic book, let us know, because we just need something different and new in our stores. So I was sending that first issue of Capable and Freak Show Princess to stores all over the country, and I'd only had printed them a couple of months ago.
That's awesome.
So that helped me to gain like a exposure to these stores all over the country, build a relationship and networking with them. So so when the Recount actually came out, they already knew who I was. My indie stuff already sold in their stores. So I couldn't have asked for those circumstances to fall in place the way that they did any better.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
When did Recount start publishing or releasing to comic shops?
Issue 1 came out November 2020. It was actually scheduled originally to be the Wednesday after Election Day, ironically. Due to, I think it was printer delays or Diamond delays, it actually came out like the following week. With the exception that Ashcan, which is 4 original pages, not 4 pages from the first issue. The Ashcan came out through Scout's sub box. I think it was like their second month doing the sub box of June or July 2020. So that was like really my first, Scout on the cover comic book then. And man, they sent me 100 copies of that Ashcan, and I was like, I was just giving it away. I was just handing it out to anyone that could take it. I was like, look at what I got. Whoa.
Right.
It's only 4 pages, but it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Now, I wish I could have some of those back, because they're what they're going for on the secondary market is for just 4 pages is beyond me how that could happen. But super proud of it. Yeah.
Yep, that's awesome. So give us the rundown of what the Recount is.
Okay, I like to call it an anti-political thriller, and it's about this fictional president who was found guilty of corruption. He was impeached, and during his resignation speech, he's assassinated by someone in his Secret Service detail. And then shortly after that, the conspirators of the assassination come out to the public and say, we're not done yet. That was just the beginning. We're going to go after everyone that helped put this guy into power, including the voters. And here's all the voting information of who voted for him. We encourage you to help us out in this plan.
Oh, my God.
So,
wow. Okay.
Very fast-paced, very eerily relevant in some ways. That was unintentional. I wrote it back in 2019.
That's crazy how that happened.
I said, it was. I struggle to call it a happy accident because I don't want to say, I'm happy that we lived through some of the things we have in the past 2 years, but it definitely didn't hurt. Get more attention to it. I don't want to say it helped with the sales, though. I can't say that helped, but it did get more exposure to it, so that makes me happy.
Awesome.
And it got picked up for a movie.
Yeah,
correct?
That's right. Yep.
Oh, really? That's cool.
How's that been for you? As still kind of an indie creator to have a Hollywood interested in this?
It really hasn't sunk in yet. So I went to work. I still work a full-time job outside of comic books. I don't make enough money to live off my comics. So the day the Recount got announced for the movie, I went to work that day, and I went to work the next day.
You still had to work, right?
I still have to work. I still get pitches rejected by other publishers. I haven't had this influx of followers on any of my social media. It ticked up a little bit, but my life is still the same. It just hasn't sunk in yet. I need to see like some casting news or a trailer before it's really going to be surreal. But I totally stoked about it. A director's attached. He's co-writing it with his writing partner. I know they have copies of the book and they want to do it justice. And cool. The director, Peter Landisman, he's done nothing but movies that are based on true events up until the Recount. So for him to be someone that wants like cross over to something fictional and pick the Recount for his first non-fictional story or movie, that means something for this book,
Yeah, so, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, that's pretty crazy that that's happened. And how's it been working with Scout Comics too?
Oh, Scout's great. I really appreciate them having faith in me at the very beginning. They love the book. They've given me a lot of opportunities. It's had so many variant covers that they've helped with, and I've been down to their headquarters in Fort Myers. I'm from Florida, so I've made the trip down there a few times. And then when I brought them the Space Cadet, my all ages book, they picked that one up, which was really cool too because they're such different comic books. And I'm also lucky to have another title with them. And I can't say what book it is, but I do have a third one coming out with them as well. So,
Well,
awesome.
Well, something you can talk about. There's more of the Recount coming, correct?
Absolutely. So it's available for pre-order now at your local comic book shop. I said it like I'm like reading from a script, but
get it now, buy it now.
The Recount Preamble. It's a one-shot, 36-page comic book that takes place before the events of the first volume. That's scheduled to come out May 18th. Super happy about that one. That was a lot of fun to work on. It also breathes more life into the story of the Recount. So I think the people that have been waiting for more to chew on will be happy with it, while it also works as a prequel, it has some things that are going to lead into the second volume. So it's necessary reading. It's not just fodder, just to have something out there with the Recount logo on it. In the meantime, it is a very important part of the Recount mythos, and I can't wait till people read it, because it also acts as to show how much I've grown as a writer since the Recount first came out. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm really happy with it.
Are you keeping the same creative team for both projects?
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to keep the same guys from the first volume. They all have there was too much time going on. Plus, Sunil, the colorist on the first volume, and Christian Dokolamansky, the letterer on the first volume, are working with me on my other book called Quicksand, which I've been crowdfunding. I have several issues out for that book. So they're busy with other projects, and I'm keeping them busy on another title for me. So I did hire a different creative team, but the interior artist, Ruben Gill, is amazing. So if you guys get a chance and see the main cover for Recount Preamble, that's his work, and he's doing the interiors, and he's nuts. His style is so realistic, and he also made sure that he could do the first volume justice as well. So it's just, his level of details is just insane. But
that's awesome.
I'm hoping to keep that team on for the second volume. It's all timing, and in indie comic books, it's hard to pay these guys, salaries for them to stay on. I get it. They have to move on. They have to feed their families. So,
right. I know a lot of
that cover's dope, by the way.
Thank you. He asked me what I wanted for the cover. I'm like, Sailor's Choice, dude. And he came up with that. I'm like, nailed it.
So whose idea was it for the Recount high top sneakers?
Okay, so
or how did those? Because I did see those when I was looking it up. Because I'm probably gonna buy some of the issues, but I'm like, man, they got high tops. That's pretty sick.
So Scout on their web store has merch, and all that merch is made to order, like kind of like Shopify style.
Yep.
And they just started putting out shoes for some of their stuff. And when I saw the Recount didn't get a shoe, I was like, hey, where's Recount? I want some Recount shoes.
Right.
I harassed them for like 6 weeks until they're like, fine, give us some files. And they did it.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I ordered a pair. They were too small, and now they're like a table display. And let me tell you, more people stop at my table to check out those shoes than anything else I ever put on my table.
Really?
So, yeah, they work as a great icebreaker. They're like, what? There's sneakerheads are everywhere, man.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. They love that kind of stuff. So I get a lot of people stopping at my table for them.
That's awesome. That's a good talking piece.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good icebreaker. And then I'm like, it's for my comic book called The Recount. Here's the trade. Flip through it, and you get the stuff in their hand. You're almost there.
Yep. Amazing.
Yeah,
and you got go ahead, Chris.
I was gonna say that's how I got into the Recount. Was I was actually down in apparently your hometown, and
in Melbourne,
visiting Travis, and we were going around to comic shops, and he just kind of threw it at me. He's like, "If you're spending money, buy this." And then
nice.
5 minutes later, he's like, I'm going to hook you two up. And everybody, that's how the world of podcasting works.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I didn't hear about it until Chris told me, so I haven't had a chance to read it yet. I know Chris has, and he's really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to checking it out too. And you have a Kickstarter going on right now, right?
That's right.
Talk about that.
Yeah, my latest Kickstarter is called Caffeinated Hearts. It ends on Friday the 11th at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. It's my third collaboration with Stefano Cartaselli. We worked together on Freak Show Night, which was published by Second Sight. Him and I did Space Cadet, which I mentioned earlier, which is published by Scout's All Ages imprint. Yep. And after Space Cadet, he's like, "What else you want to do?" And I was like, well, I haven't done a slice of life yet. And him and I both love coffee. We're coffee addicts. or connoisseurs, as we should probably say. And
that's awesome.
So I wanted to do something different, and I wanted to do something coffee related. He was up for it, so I gave him the idea of us doing a story that takes place in the coffee shop, but it's actually 4 different intertwined vignettes. This barista is in all 4 stories, and he's like, "Okay, cool, but let's make it cyberpunk." I'm like, "Why not?" So it takes place like in this cyberpunk world, and with flying cars. But it's all in this coffee shop. So it was a lot of fun to do. And we paired up with this company called Comics on Coffee, which is also based out of Fort Myers near Scout headquarters. And they do a coffee subscription service where you subscribe to their service. They mail you a coffee bag or 2, depending on how many you want per month. And the owner is an artist. She does the art on all the bags. So I had her do one of the variant covers, the cover C, and there's reward tiers where you can actually get a digital gift certificate to order a bag of her coffee mailed to you. So it was really important to me that this not just be a comic book that's in a coffee shop about coffee, but you can actually get coffee too with it. The plan is cool. People will get that digital code shortly after the funding is received. They can order their coffee, get it in the mail, and by that point, we're mailing them the comic. So in theory, that should be how it works. But I love cross-promoting, and I really wanted to really have coffee related to this Kickstarter.
The Comics on Coffee is so cool. I just saw it.
Check out their website. They have several different bags, and they even have a bag for one of Scout's titles, Phantom Starkiller.
Phantom Starkiller?
Yeah,
oh, man.
There's a Phantom Starkiller coffee bag from Comics on Coffee. If you ever get to Fort Myers, go to Scout's headquarters. They have a coffee bar there with nitro cold brew and everything. It's sick.
That'll be next year's visit down to Florida. Maybe I'll give you a call, Jonathan.
Let me know. It's about a 3-hour drive for me, but I'll never complain about going to Scout HQ because they treat me right there. And I usually leave them with 100 comic books signed for them to sell on Whatnot or whatever, and I drink a ton of coffee from that coffee bar.
That's awesome.
So I'm a coffee like rookie, I guess. Like I have my little coffee machine. I put Dunkin's coffee in. It just wakes me up in the morning. Yeah. Mike, on the other hand, over here is like the beer connoisseur of coffee in my life.
I like beer too, though.
Yes, and I'll never forget going to his place back when he was living in up in New England.
Yeah,
and I was there for a con, and I drove up there. I spent the night. I woke up next morning. He gives me a thing of coffee, and he just hands it to me. I was like, "Do you have any cream?" And he looked at me as if I insulted his mother.
Yeah,
I was like, "Bro, what are you asking me for right now?"
He's like, "This is aged in whiskey barrels, dude. Like you drink it
black." You're not imparting this flavor. Come on. So also, that's how I drink my coffee. So I forced him to.
I'm trying to wean myself off of using creamer. I am down to just putting a little bit in my mug. But I want to get to the point where I can just enjoy the flavor of the blend, how it was supposed to be. I'm not there yet. But some of the coffee that the Comics on Coffee makes, it is you can totally drink it without cream or sugar for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that much of a snob. I was just giving him a hard time, I guess.
Right.
But I used to drink a ton of cream and sugar.
Me too.
And,
that's how I started it.
Yeah, I went camping one week and we didn't have any cream or sugar, so that was it. I was like, well, I guess I'm drinking it black, and I haven't stopped. So.
I mean, it'll put hair on your chest, that's for sure.
Yeah. So, Caffeinated Hearts, is there any dialogue in the book, or is it strictly?
Yes.
Okay.
Before the Kickstarter launch, we didn't have any lettered pages, but yes, it's lettered by my good friend Jerome Gagnon. He's a Canadian letterer and colorist. He's works almost does almost every book that Travis has done too. Travis has him on every one of his books. Yeah, it is lettered. It's going to be lettered. He's got about 7 pages now since the Kickstarter launched. But if you watch the Kickstarter video, the dialogue in that video is actually dialogue from the comic book. I wrote what that guy is saying in the Kickstarter video. That's everything he says is just page 1 of Caffeinated Hearts. So.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
I also, even if I had lettered pages, I probably wouldn't have shown as many with lettered pages because it would have totally spoiled things. It would have, I want people just to read it for the first time in hand.
Yeah, I think it's especially a one-shot slice of life comic.
Exactly.
Yeah, you don't want to show too much, right?
Yeah, so. And it's 4 stories, so each of those 4 stories is 4 pages, and then there's like splash pages in between with not much dialogue. So I want people to get their money's worth when they get it. You're
doing the Love Actually thing, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Right.
They all meet up at the end or something. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I mean, that's not something I would normally read, but I funded for the digital just because the art is very interesting to me. Yeah, no problem, man. And it just makes me want to have a cup of coffee.
Right.
I don't know.
My goal is
it does that.
This is just set on people's coffee tables, and you open it up, and your buddies that you're entertaining just they see that and they just flip through and enjoy the art.
Yep.
Stefano, again, this is the 3rd time I worked with him. He pencils, inks, and watercolors. That's all watercolor that he's doing, nothing digital.
Yeah.
So I love working with him. Every page is a masterpiece. I learned after our first book with him that to not give him too many panels per pages, because less panels, the more he can flex. So that's why Space Cadet is all splash pages. It's 20 splash pages. Which I thought would be fitting for an all ages book. Kids are, especially kids being just introduced to comic books, may not understand that medium and the sequential storytelling. So it's all splash pages. So
yeah, that's awesome, dude. This is exciting, and the Kickstarter will have, when this goes up, the Kickstarter will have a couple more days for people to fund. It's already almost there, right? So.
Yeah, we're right now. It's just a few hundred shy, so I'm confident we'll get there. There's a few things I'm waiting on to announce to give some more perks and things like that. So
okay, yeah, I'll look forward to that.
Well,
yeah,
you're definitely the first comic we've had on here that gives coffee with some of their perks. So
yeah,
you got the originality there.
Yeah, I did some research. I looked for other campaigns that offered it. I didn't see any like Entitled alone. I'm sure some people may have done it, but I'm not taking claim for being the first person. But it was really important to me that it was a heavy part of the rewards. So
yeah, I think it's a really great idea.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, so besides the Kickstarters, I know we talked about a few of your books here. Where's the best place we can find all your books? Because I'm like looking to buy some tonight, and I don't know if I should go to Comixology or straight to Scout. Where can you direct me here?
My main hub is, I try to direct people to my own website, jonathanhedrickcomics.com. From there, I don't have too many raw comics on my website, but I have links to Scout's webpage for Recount and Space Cadet. And I'll just hit up your LCS too. Some of my local comic books that stores that really support me is Famous Faces and Funnies in Melbourne, Florida, Kingdom of Comics in Melbourne as well, 9.9 Comics, The Collective in Altamont Springs, Florida. So I always try to promote the comic book shops first, rather than sell there. And people, my name come across the register with them, so they know to reorder from my books instead of selling it from me. That's why I don't have too many raw books either on my website. I don't want to compete with Scout selling it on their web store. So I throw a bunch of slabs up there because that's a unique item. And if something is more rare or sold out somewhere else, then I'll throw it up as a raw comic.
Okay, awesome. So your website, local comic shops. Yep.
Everybody, I will have the links to both the Kickstarter and Jonathan's website down in the show notes, so make sure to click there and check out his work.
Thank you.
And John, thanks so much for being on. We really appreciate you taking the time.
I appreciate you guys having me on.